What's going on, everyone? I am so honored. We've had guests from all over the world. We've had guests from the UK, the US, Brazil, Morocco, but I'm so excited to have a dev from Jamaica. We're going to get into Graham of Legend. Yeah, a certified legend in the game. We're going to get into Ourlands, Super Space Club, and much, much more. Stay tuned for the next power hour of the Streamcast. Hey, what's going on, everyone? Hello and welcome to the Streamcast, bringing people together through gaming since 2018. And I'm the host, always doing the most, the face that runs the place, the goat that steers the boat, Black Amora. And I'm joined by Graham of Legend on my left. How you doing, bro?
What's good? I feel like I need some of those catchy names.
You got Legend in your name.
Yeah, but like the goat that drives a boat. Is that what you said? Like what? Steers the
Yeah,
boat?
that steers
Amazing.
the boat. Look, when you have a legend coming on the pod, you have to big yourself up. You have to puff up your chest a little bit, you know? I'm trying to be like you, man.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, of course. Thank you for saying yes. Thank you for coming on the pod.
Of course.
So for anyone who doesn't know who you are, as the people file in the chat, why don't you let us know who you are? Obviously, your name is Graham of Legend, but yeah, tell us a bit about yourself.
Would be crazy if that's my real name. So I'm
I
Graham
thought it
Lee,
was.
also known as Graham of Legend. Born and raised Jamaican dev, currently based out of New York in the States. Fortunately and unfortunately, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's a bit of a sticky
And
one.
yeah, it's sticky. And yeah, I've been an indie developer for the past like 12-ish years, full time since 2021. And yeah, just make cool stuff, just make cool games.
Dope. So
Mhm.
we're gonna get into all of that and more, but I feel like, oh, 1 second, my phone is being an op. Anyway, we're gonna get into all of that and more. But with all of my guests, I like to ask them this question because every gamer has an origin story, like a comic book or an anime or a
Mhm,
movie.
mhm.
There is an origin story. Graham, what is your first ever game and console? Do you remember?
Yes, I do. I feel like I should have pulled this up sooner. I remember my first console, and when I got it, I think I was 4, and I remember my dad walked into my bedroom on my birthday with a Super Nintendo, and we had what do we have? We had Super Metroid for it, and it was just like, what's a 4-year-old doing playing Super Metroid? Like I didn't have the dexterity for that. We couldn't even pass the first level, nor could he, because he'd never played games like that before. But that was some of the most fun I've had that night. Just me and him trying to beat that first level, escaping Ridley, escaping like the planet blowing up. And then eventually my cousin traded me because he wanted Super Metroid, but he gave me Super Mario All Stars, and so I got 4 dope games like for the price of one, like the OG Mario trilogy and Super Mario World. So it's like, yeah, that's all I need. And then I've been a lifelong gamer and Nintendo fan ever since that.
That's sick. Like,
Yeah.
you really had one of the best startups into life as a gamer. Metroid and Mario.
Yep. Yep.
Was it playing those 4 games that made the moment click for you that, oh, I think I'm going to play these for life?
No, actually. So I mean, I love those, but it was when I played A Link to the Past that was when it was like, oh, this is what games are. Okay, got you.
Oh, interesting. Let's see
Yeah,
if that features in your list because another question that I like to ask my guests, what are your top 5 games in any order?
it's a hard question.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's a hard question for many reasons. One of them being I could just name 5 Zelda games right now, and that's my list. But I feel like I need to be fair to the other games.
Of
And
course.
so I won't pick Link to the Past because for the longest time that was my favorite, and then Wind Waker was my favorite. But for this list specifically, just for today, I would say Breath of the Wild is like up there. It's like one of my favorites. Not
So
Tears.
bad.
Tears is a better game, but Breath of the Wild just changed my thoughts on what Zelda could even be, you know?
Yeah.
Witcher 3 was like not my first big RPG, but it was like my first game like that. Like I never played any of the Assassin's Creed games or anything like that. I played like Fallout and that kind of stuff, but Witcher 3 was like, yo, this game's amazing. I'm fully like I ridiculous amount of hours into that world.
Ooh, how
Um,
many hours?
I don't know, like over 200. Like ridiculous for me, who didn't put that much hours into like I beat a game and then be done with it. But this about every single DLC just went in, you know. So for me that was rare.
Respect
Like
it.
I played, it's not on my list. I feel like it should be, but Rocket League, I put probably more hours into that.
Oh,
But
damn.
that's not on my list. So Breath of the Wild, Witcher 3, Mario World, because that was just my favorite one. Um, I would say for the indies, I would say like Fez. That's what really like I played indie games growing up, but it was more like just like flash games on like Newgrounds or whatever. But I never thought of them as indie games. So the first indie game, quote unquote, that I knew was like that indie kind of thing was Fez, and I loved it. It was just like to this day, I still that game must hold so much wonder and mystery for me. Like there's some secrets I'm sure people still haven't found in that game.
Yeah.
Um, and then final one, I'd probably give it to the GameCube version of Animal Crossing. Because again,
Okay.
that's like another game where it's like I spent a year, years to spend that game, and I've been a fan of that ever since. And like that, yeah, it's Animal Crossing is just dope.
That's a really
I
very
play
list.
everything. Yeah, I play
Mhm.
everything. Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like your top five
and that's why it's
really.
so hard.
Yeah.
So hard to
That
pick.
I can appreciate that. I think it can be easy, like you said, to just name five Zelda games, five of the same
Trust
genre.
me.
But
Like, I love the Zelda games that much. I couldn't. I really couldn't.
is Link to the Past your favorite Zelda game?
If I was to just pick one to play right now, it probably would be Breath of the Wild.
Okay.
No, it Link to the Past. Like, I can randomly pick up anything, like pick up my Switch, pick up like something else, and play Link to the Past like right now. Just like get into it right now from the start. I've played that game. I've started that game over the most of probably any game. So probably is my
Wow.
favorite, but it definitely is the ones that means the most to me for sure.
Yeah, I feel like you're almost torn between what you feel is objectively the best Zelda game in Breath of the Wild in terms of
Yeah,
how it influenced the entire industry, won so many
right.
awards, it is so fleshed out, and then your personal favorite in terms of like formative years, went back to play it. I could name you every pixel. I know where all the
Yeah,
secrets are. I know how to get all the
it's
cheat
it's
codes and
it's,
all
it's a
that.
challenge, right? And like
Yeah.
I used to like back before Breath of the Wild, I used to be like, oh, I have a favorite 2D and a favorite 3D because Wind Waker was my favorite 3D Zelda. I
Mhm.
just adore everything about that game. Even when it came out, I remember people were upset because of like they wanted more like a realistic Link, and we got this cute little cell shaded Link, which is to the test of time. I'm happy they did that.
Yeah.
Um, and just even exploring in that, it felt like nothing else because you're just wandering these open seas, and it made Ocarina of Time feel small. It's like you
Wow.
know yeah, it's because it's open like the ocean. The ocean is the biggest body of this thing that takes up our planet. And
True.
even in
True.
those games, it's just water. So when you're sailing and you're looking and you can't see anything until you see a little blip in the horizon, and it's actually an enemy. Like what? Crazy. And so I think that's also what makes Breath of the Wild up there for me, just the exploration. Like I love games that you can just explore in. Which
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at my list, like Witcher, exploration, like even Fez, I think that's probably the common through line.
Mm.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that those themes recur in the games that you've developed, because
No.
how it because
Not at all.
every person's journey is different. So how do you go from playing all of these games, playing Fez, playing Zelda, and then going, oh, I want to make one of these for myself, I want to go into building games? How do you get that moment for you?
It was very unplanned. Like, I have a friend from also back in Jamaica. He went to college with me. This guy named Robert Morrison, and he was a game dev major at the time, and he eventually switched over to what I did, which was motion graphics. But while he was a game dev major, he said, "Yo, let's do like a. Do you know what the Global Game Jam is?"
I've heard of it, yeah.
Well, for anyone who listening and doesn't know, it's basically like a 3 day. I think it's still 3 days. It's a 3 day just hackathon where you basically don't sleep. You get a theme. The whole world gets a theme, and it unlocks for everybody at the same time around the globe. And you're supposed to build a team and make a game in that time. And so this was 2012. Yeah, 2012 January, and we were like, yeah, let's do it. And at that point, so we had Android and iOS, so it was we just make a phone game. It's easy, right? Just make an Android game. You can just drop the APK on. Especially then, it was so easy to just drag and drop, and that's it. The game is there.
Mm.
Um, and so we made a little game. It was like a little arcade shooter kind of thing, and we're like, wait, we can make games. Before you thought, all the games I played were, I assume at least, were developed by tens, hundreds, maybe even thousands of people. I don't know, like by the Nintendos or the Rockstars or whoever. I didn't know, and Flash games, but I didn't know how to make a Flash game either. So I didn't know it was something that I could do. I could even have a part of. So once we did that, then we actually finished the game, shipped it to Android as a paid game on Android, which is to think about now is crazy. Like back then it made sense, but no one is doing that now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Unity came about, or it was about then, but it got really popular and really easy to use. And there's a lot of resources online. Like shout out to YouTube, because without YouTube, I wouldn't be here. I learned everything I know on YouTube. Um, yes, it's really just about the right time and the right tools, and just my love for games. Just everything came together,
That's
and
sick.
fast forward, and here we are.
Yeah, you say 2012. That's a lot of experience that you've got,
You
and
think so?
yeah.
But a
Well,
lot of the time, I was freelancing. Then I had a full time
sure.
job I used to work at Snapchat for 6 years, I think. And
I was gonna
that took
ask
up
you about
most of my
that.
time. Sorry, no fun
I was
time.
gonna I was gonna ask you about that because I was doing a bit of research, and yeah, I did see that. So were there any transferable skills that you developed at your time at Snap that helped you in
Oh
your
yeah,
journey
yeah,
within
for
dev?
sure. I mean, just for one, like just being in direct contact with so many people every day and working with so many awesome people, it taught me how to just work with people on that caliber. Like I felt like everybody was always better than me at everything we did, and I would hope they'd say the same about me. But like we all felt like we're all elevating each other, and just different people I came across. I had really good managers who taught me how to manage. So when I have like contractors or the people, collaborators, whatever, I know how to work with people. Um, and just working at like one of the largest apps in the world, and actually doing UI, doing a bunch of stuff for them, that really, it got me to think about just how to deal with million, like my games that were played by the same level of, like
Yeah,
there are things I've worked on at Snap that literally got seen billions of time with a B. I'm never going to make anything personal. It's going to get seen like that. Like never. If it does, then I don't know. There will be signs. There will be
yeah.
signs. But yeah, so it's like having that experience to work that on such a heavily trafficked program app. It's like, of course, there's definitely lots of transferable skills that now I can actually put into my games and actually know how to just make things feel good.
That's really good to hear, and it sounds like you were very successful at one of the largest corporations in the world. So
Yeah.
yeah, big up to you for that. No big deal.
I
I
wouldn't
mean,
say
but
very successful, but I mean, I'm good at what I do.
yeah, but I mean, I feel sometimes we are not very good at bigging ourselves up and taking the plaudits when we do achieve greatness, and even something like that is something that not everyone can do. So I feel it's important to mark every step, every milestone that you make on your journey, whether it's for someone else or for yourself, and
You're not
every
wrong. You're
step
not
you.
wrong.
Thank you. I'm
Yeah.
gonna clip that. Rewind.
It's the
But
slow
yeah,
motion. You're
yeah.
not wrong.
That's the new theme song. But it is
No, but
important
it
to
was
sometimes,
it was a fun time. I think it's because
yeah,
it was also such a hard, like, everything comes with ups and downs, right?
yeah,
And so there's a lot of trying times there as well.
Of course.
But ultimately, yeah, no, I did good work, met really dope people, and just learned a lot. And they gave me a lot of flexibility because I didn't work on Super Space Club while I was at Snapchat, like in my like at home and stuff. They weren't like, oh, you can't work on. Some companies will stop you from working on side projects. They
Mm-hmm.
never stopped me from working on my own side projects. It's not like I'm
Yeah.
trying to make a competitor app. It was just like a little game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's, I mean, and again, that's not a given. Like you said, there are corporations
exactly.
that will try to shut that down. So it's really fortunate those organizations that will allow you to develop yourself alongside working and contributing to the company. So
Right,
yeah,
right.
sometimes it's just
Yeah.
important to stop and smell the roses every now and then, you know?
Yeah. I mean, and so all that to say, like I did start back in 2012, but it didn't really feel full time until I left Snapchat and then started my own thing. And even then, it was it's a whole story about that. But long story short, burnouts and just having children, the
Yeah.
pandemic, all those things kind of delayed me to actually make a move on stuff. But I'm here now. We're good now.
That's it. Sometimes destiny can only be delayed, not stopped, you know?
Hey, I
So
like that. Clip
clip
that.
that, clip that. If you are watching this podcast live, make sure you give us a thumbs up. That helps us out greatly in terms of discoverability and growth. And we are one subscriber away from 550 as we chase that milestone up to 600. So make sure you subscribe if you aren't already. Get involved in the podcast chat live right now in real time. And this will be available wherever you get your podcasts in about 24 hours. So whether it's Spotify, Apple, Castbox, get to subscribing and following. It costs you absolutely nothing to support us. So back to you, Graham.
Hmm.
When you, so I did want to ask about what caused you to leave, and you kind of answered that there with everything like burnout. It was
There's a
all
lot of
real,
things, yeah.
yeah,
I
family.
really, I
Hmm.
mean, I can tell exactly what made me leave. It was I hadn't we had our first child, my wife and I, and before it was like I was working really hard at Snapchat, coming home, working really hard on my game until like all hours of the morning, rinse, repeat. And then having a child takes up a lot of time.
Hmm.
And it
Yeah,
was like, I'm not going to not prioritize my child. I'm not going to not prioritize my passion. So something got to go. And then that was
you
it.
know, fair.
And also at that point in time, like everything just like lined up with the pandemic. Everyone was working from home anyway. I'd saved up enough to make it work, like all that stuff. So it was right place, right time. Yeah.
That's really no, that's fair, and I really appreciate that answer. It's very real as well. Um, you obviously everyone loves well, not everyone loves, but everyone has to grind. Everyone has to work hard, obviously, to make a living. But there comes a time where you can't balance it all, and
Yeah, I was in my
you know
20s then. I'm in my 30s now, so it's just like
you got to be a
not
bit
trying
smarter.
to. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
I'm done with that double shift duty, like triple shift at this point. Yeah.
Tell me about it. And yeah, you made the right call, obviously, to prioritize your family and prioritize yourself. I think those are the two out of that three
Yeah.
to
I
prioritize.
want to say it's the right call. I think I was also just very privileged to be able to make that call because a lot of people want to make that call, but they don't have the resources or the money or whatever to actually do
Yeah,
that. So I'm just very
yeah.
blessed that my wife was also like, "Yeah, that sounds stressful, but let's try it." And we're still here. I haven't gone back to a full time job yet, so
And you never
making
will.
it work. And I never, knock on wood, like never will.
Very important. You know what they say, behind a great man is an even greater woman. I do want to say
Facts.
happy Mother's Day because it was yesterday. So I think half of the world has it in line with
Oh,
the UK and half of the world has it in line with the
over
US.
here
So
is not. I mean,
yeah,
obviously, I'm
it's
in
like
US, yeah.
it,
Yeah.
it's like in May in America or something, right? May, June.
Yeah, and then June is Father's Day, yeah.
Yeah. They didn't care about
But
that. It's the
happy
same day
Happy
around
Human
the world.
Mother's Day, yeah.
Yeah, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there doing an
Big
amazing
ups.
job. And Eid Mubarak as well to all of our Muslim family, all of our Muslim gamers
Mubarak.
out there. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so now talk to me about Super Space Club. You've gone out on your own. You've gone, you know what? I'm going to make this game. Is that actually the first game that you made while going full time?
Well, full time, yeah. 'Cause before I did the game with my friends called Shapes and Sound, the Shapeshooter. like a little minimal black and white game. I don't know how to describe it now. It's yes, it's a fun little. I'm trying to think of what classic game. It's more like an arcade game.
Okay.
Super simple for the time, but it was actually it's very really fun. I wish I could find like a APK of that. And then I made this game called Hexicube, which was like me learning how to use Unity, how to actually code in Unity. And I made like Pong for the World Cup. So I made World Cup Pong.
Okay.
Yeah, and then when the World Cup was done, I'm like, all right, I can't make a World Cup game anymore. So I made figure out what I want to pivot this to. And so I made a game where essentially it's Pong, but you're shooting the ball instead of just hitting with a paddle.
Mhm.
And that was fun. And then after that, I was like, all right, I want to make non-mobile games now because I see where the mobile industry is going, and I don't really want to go down that path. Nor do I
Yeah.
have the money. Like people are spending 500,000 millions of dollars like just on
It's
ad spend, and
insane.
I don't have money for that or the time to just churn out a game every day. You know, I can't. So pivoted over to just making PC stuff. Um, and I've had the idea for Super Space Club for a long time in different iterations. The initial iteration was like a mobile game, more based on. Do you know this game called Ridiculous Fishing?
No, I've never heard of that.
It's a game from Blamber. It's like a they have it on if you have Apple Arcade, they have it on that now, like a EX version.
Okay.
Essentially the core loop is you're this guy. It's a 2D game. You're this guy in a boat, and you shoot you cast a fishing rod, a cast a line, and you can your goal is to dodge all the fish going down as long as your line can take you. And then on your way back up, if you hit a fish or if you just run out of line, you have to collect all the fish. And then the third phase is it throws a molotov in the sky and then you shoot all the fish with a shotgun. And then you get money for each of the things, rinse repeat. It's a very fun game. And it's all tilt controls. So you tilt the phone to control
Ah,
it.
nice. Yeah.
And so that inspired me, like, all right, boom, I want to make a space shooting game where you're tilting your phone to actually control the ship. Um and then eventually that is kind of over time just morphed into what Super Space Club is today. But I think the essence is still what it is,
Yeah. So
what it was, I
with
should say. Yeah.
yeah. So was that the main inspiration behind Super Space Club, or were there others? Because it's got a very cool aesthetic.
I mean,
Did you?
initially that was, but then funny enough, a different game from that same developer was more of a direct inspiration. It's a game called Luftrosas. It's like I think it was World War II, like a dogfighting game. Similar like 2D aspect, but it's a lot more physics. Well, not more physics based, but it's on Earth. It's gravity based. So you're flying, letting off your thrusters and falling while shooting up in the skies, and people are coming from all angles. It's like very hectic in that sense. And it's inspired by that and just like Star Fox, just because just vibes.
Yeah, of course. Again, that's one of the core Nintendo titles, you know.
Yeah, yep. And then just like for the music, I was really just inspired by at that time I was listening to a lot of lo-fi hip hop, that kind of vibe. And most people weren't into that yet. I'm so upset it blew up and became a big thing because I'm like, yo, my game's gonna have that before any other game, and then other games started to do it. I'm like, damn it. But then my team, there's a duo called Fat Bard who they do all the sound and music for the game, and they were like, yo, let's kind of pivot from just pure lo-fi to make it kind of like a jazz reggae infusion kind of vibe, and they just kind of made their own thing at the end of the day, and it just sounds. I think I haven't heard anything like it on any other game. All biases aside. um, Also, I've never heard like a Jamaican on a game because I have a friend who's a reggae artist and he's on the game too. There's a guy
No,
from college who's like a hip hop rapper. Hip hop rapper. He's a hip hop artist. Um, he's a French rapper. Like I've never heard any things in a game before. Maybe GTA. Maybe you'll hear like a 1-2 dancehall song, but
yeah.
that's it, right?
Yeah, they often
Um,
take licensed songs, so it's
yeah,
different having original artists and original
exactly.
songs.
And then visually, like I was really inspired by. Initially, the game was going to be black and white, more of an homage to like asteroids. But then I went and I watched Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse by myself in the middle of the theater. And if you haven't seen that movie, you're doing yourself a just like a
So
you need to go and watch it. It's so good.
it's so
Both of them
good.
are so good.
It's so good.
But
Hot
the
take
first one
alert.
is like, yeah,
Those are the best Spider-Man films. Continue.
facts, facts. Facts. But yeah, they're very colorful, right? Very graphic, very stylized. It's very color, just very rich. And I was like, yo, I can't make my game black and white. It needs to be this. It needs to have this aesthetic, or at least somewhat aesthetic to it, you know. And so then the game just blew up in that way. And just it just kind of took on its life of its own with the music, with the visuals, and the gameplay was always set. That's the first thing I locked down. Really wanted to feel hectic, but also rewarding, which I think it does. And the music and the visuals kind of give it this like mellow vibe. So it's hard, but it's like you don't really feel. It's not like some intense like uns
Yeah.
uns music or whatever with a bunch of screen shake. It's like
Yeah.
no, it's not that kind of game.
Yeah. So it's like a cool cup of coffee as opposed to a Monster Energy drink, you know?
Exactly.
I
Like you're
get
still
that.
gonna
Yeah.
get adrenaline, but it's not like inject into my veins kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's sick. And of course, congrats on all the success of Super Space Club.
Thank you,
I know,
thank
of
you.
course, we have a co-host, Hallie, who loved that game. So
Hey.
speaks to us. And we have actually done an episode, I think it's number 101, where we just did a cozy game focus. So, as we transition into Ourlands, tell me about the inspirations behind that. Of course, you named Animal Crossing as one of your top 5 games. So, tell me about the inspirations about Ourlands and what we can expect from the cozy island builder.
So I'm from an island called Jamaica. I wanted to make a game about islands. No, I mean that's part of it, but that's not the main inspiration. After making Super Space Club, I really wanted to make something very different from it. And most of my time developing Super Space Club was focused on mechanics. So like a lot of balancing, a lot of trying to figure out what feels good, what feels bad, whatever. And not the arts. But my background is in arts, you know, so I really wanted to try and make something where I'm doing a lot more illustration or 3D. But in Ourlands, it's all 2D, so it's just illustration right now. And minimal mechanics, like mechanics will be there. It's just not that's not the focus of the game, you know. And so I kind of played on a couple of different ideas, and I also noticed that people are really into cozy games now. I mean, I'm also into cozy games, clearly. I've been Animal Crossing, but people are more so into not just any kind, not like a Stardew kind of cozy game, but just like these cozy games where there isn't really an objective. Just kind of hey, like it's like Legos, you know, you just go in,
Yeah.
you play, you dip, and that's you can stay there for hours, or you can stay there for 5 minutes, whatever you need to do. And especially in today's world, bro, like, dog, we need more just games where you can just kind of just veg out and just enjoy the ambience, the visuals, just something that makes you feel at peace, you know.
Absolutely.
And so
$100.
that was my main inspiration with this game, and it just ended up being like me wanting to make an island build. It just felt right, you know. It just kind of came to me. Can't think of any one direct thing that made me want to make it that you building islands as opposed to anything else. Um, well, I mean, one thing is that you do see other games that are about island building, but it's more they're either very procedural, 3D generated, a lot of them look the same, or there's a really good one called Tiny Glade, which is like they're brilliant. Like I think the team is led by a tech artist, which is essentially like a programming artist.
Right.
And she is a genius. Like the when I see that game, like where did they even start to make something like this? Like that game looks like it could be a tool to make a full open world MMO or something. Like it's just
Yeah.
that good. And so I couldn't do that. And so I was like, all right, if I want to make something similar to this, what can I do? Um, and yeah, just led me to just making my own little illustration style. Well, not my own, but like inspired by Adventure Time, kind of that kind of look.
I love Adventure Time.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I've said all this, and no one knows what this game is. Basically, in Ourlands, the whole purpose is to just make cozy little islands for like these really interesting characters. I've actually spoken about the characters yet, but essentially the characters they're not really it's still objectives based, but not it's not really like a hard objective. Like for example, there's a pirate character in the game. His name is Captain Beard, and he just wants to make like a little pirate hangout for him and his friends, him and his crew, and he'll tell you what he wants, but you don't have to follow that. You can just put whatever you want on the island. But if you want to unlock all the things that he has in his island to put on your own island, you have to like actually do what he wants to do. So that's that kind of vibe. Like you're just fulfilling these characters' requests, and then you get unlock things that bring back to your own island and make whatever you want. And yeah, it's just a really cozy, just chill game. Very opposite, like I said, of Super Space Club. And it gets me to illustrate a lot, which I'm excited about.
Yeah, it speaks to your background in art, and I really like the fact that you've tried to make something that will be a very helpful, not a distraction, but like a tool for people to use to take them away from the very hectic, harsh busyness of the real world. And I think that's
Yeah,
needed. Like you said,
definitely.
cozy games have definitely gone up. They're definitely trending upwards, and I hope that continues, and I think it will. And I think with games
Oh,
like
for
this,
sure. They're here to stay.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. And
Especially with the
games
Switch 2 coming out. Oh, I hope I can get on the Switch 2. Like
like definitely want to ask you about
early.
that
Yeah.
actually.
No,
But
it's
like,
very it's really it's a challenge to get um on Nintendo's good side, unless you're already in or have like a publisher or
yeah,
whatever. But I'm working on it. Working on it.
again, I think that's one of those goals that we're going to tick off in the next couple of
Of course.
years. So,
Like full circle, full circle.
that's
Started
right.
in Nintendo, ended up with my game on Nintendo. That's like that's the goal for me.
How cool is that?
Yeah.
Like on
Like
the
I've kind of
ECB,
felt it when Super Space Club came out on Xbox. I mean, when it came to PC, I was like crying because I'm like, yo, I put a game out on PC. I grew up playing, even like right after playing Super Nintendo, my dad had like he mainly played DOS games. So I played like King's Quest or like Jazz Jackrabbit, Putt Putt, just like all these random a mix of kid and not kid friendly games. And yeah, so putting a game onto PC, I was like, wow, I did this. And then the following year, I put Super Six Up on Xbox, and I was like, yo, I have a game on a console. It has like a full on ESRB rating. Like, what? What is life? It's crazy.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
And
And
like,
then I got put into
mhm.
a it was in a magazine. Like, it got rated in a magazine.
Oh,
This, do you know this magazine? It's actually a UK magazine called Debug.
I think I've heard of that.
It's gotta be there somewhere. Somewhere there somewhere. But yeah, Debug magazine.
That's
And I was
so
like,
cool.
yo, this is the dream. Like I need to translate to sales so I can, keep doing it. But
Yeah.
that's the hard part. Like actually, because I mean, especially now, like there's so many games, so many good games, and so little money to go around to buy all the. And even if you have the money, people have the time. Like there's so many 100, 200 hour games, and then a lot of indies now are just making games that you can just play forever, like any kind of roguelike games or a game with roguelike elements. Even Ourlands, you can play that forever if you want. And so it's
Yeah.
just like it's hard to get people to really care about your game enough to want to buy it because a lot of people will care about it and love it exists, but they might not actually invest with
Yeah.
their wallets. Like, that's the hard part.
And,
That's the
you know,
hardest part.
y- yeah, I think it is because, like, it is, as you said, there are so many games out there and there are stats out there for everyone to see. And especially with platforms such as Steam and Epic, who allow so
Hmm.
many creators of all sizes to put their creations
You just
on.
sign up and there it is. There's your game.
Honestly,
Yeah.
there's so many games coming out every day, even. So how do you compete? How do you compete for people's money, like you said, or people's time, which I think is the more important currency here,
Right.
because people ain't getting their time back. If someone commits, okay, I'm gonna play this Persona game, that's $500.
Yeah.
They ain't playing anything else.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
how have you found that journey? Because it is, like you said, there are a lot of people who will be like, hey, your game's amazing. It's great that you're putting your creation out there. And then it's time to pay. And it's like, I don't like it that much. And to be fair,
Yeah. I mean, and some
everyone,
people will buy it, but then they never play it because they just don't have time. But they'll buy it just to
yeah,
support me. Because I do
yeah.
like it. It's just again the time.
So there's several obstacles. Of course, there's the purchase, and then there's actual playing, and there's all metrics that are being tracked by yourself, I'm sure. And tracked by publishers and the platforms themselves. So
Right.
how have you found what parts of those obstacles have you found difficult to navigate, and have you found any maybe tips, not necessarily tricks, but any tips that have helped you, for sales, for example? What have you found that has helped you in terms of sales and in terms of playing time?
I mean, so one of the biggest things is from the starts. Like you have to make a game that people want, right? Like no one was really asking for Super Space Club. I just kind of wanted to make it, and at that point, I was at a full-time job, so I just wanted to make something dope, you know. But then pivoting to this being my full-time job and me still working on Super Space Club, I was like, people want it, but it's not like I'm not feeling like a huge void, you know. And so with Ourlands, I am entering a space where a lot more people will want this game. Even the wishlists are trending up a lot faster than Super Space Club did, which is good. Um, so yeah, it's really just about picking the right game and then also executing on it properly, not taking too long. Like you can't take 5 years. I mean, if you're making something like the next Stardew or something, you can take 5 years, sure. Or like Silk Song, sure. But like if you're not that, then it's like you really have to. It's a more about quantity over quality, but you still have to have quality. You can't just put 100 games that are crap and expect to do good, you know. But yeah, it's a very fine line to balance because also people want like the cream of the crop, but you can't spend a million years on it anymore.
That's very interesting because I
Yeah.
had Zalavia Nelson Jr. on the pod,
I
and
was about to I was about to say talk about his games like he has a very strict like I'm not going to spend 2 years on a game policy. I think he did on one game on what's the name of that game? I always forget the vampire one. You're like your girlfriend's
uh,
a vampire.
oh, everything everywhere, something like that. Oh God, El Paso
No,
everywhere,
El Paso elsewhere. There you go. Thank you.
elsewhere. There we go.
I think that's the longest game they worked on, like him and his team. And he's like, yeah, not doing this again. But even then, it's like he committed to an aesthetic, to a gameplay style and everything. And it's not like the flashiest game. It looks it did exactly what it needs to do. It fit it filled a certain void. And now they're making a movie. Like what?
That's crazy.
Crazy.
That's
And all
absolutely
his games
crazy.
after that they've made within a year. Like I don't think any of the games, as far as I know, took longer. At least from when he announced, I should say, it doesn't seem like it took longer than a year to develop any of them. He keeps it small and concise. And I've even heard him talk on podcasts, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't work on certain things because those are bigger games, and I don't spend years of my life making one thing."
I hear
And
it.
so, honestly, that model to me is like my ideal, like making smaller yet equally dope experiences. It's just a matter of making. He told me this personally today. He's like, "Yo, make more games," because he's made some games that have sold nothing, and then some that have sold, like a lot.
Yeah,
But if he only made one game, imagine that one game sold nothing. Then it's like, yo, 3 years of your life gone.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's
So
sorry, go on.
I was saying, make more games and just not be precious with what you make. I guess. Like, yeah, that's it really. Your
Yeah, I
thoughts, yeah.
was. Yeah. When you were speaking, like I was just getting like flashbacks of that episode with him because a lot of what you were saying were aligning with that, and I think I agree with it. Like not just putting out stuff just to put it out, but also
No, no,
being
no.
very strategic with how long you're going to spend on the game and making sure that you can build up the catalog of games that you've got.
Exactly. And also, like I said, what you make. You can't just decide, I'm going to make a Super Mario clone. Like, no one's going to buy that. Unless you're making like like a Cuphead, like you're making something that's beautiful, like the most beautiful thing you've ever seen in your life. Then it's like the bar for those is really high. Versus like a game like, Caves of Cod.
No.
It's spelled QUD. It's like I didn't know how to explain it. It's like the art style is very much like 8-bit, almost ASCII art. Is that
Okay.
one? Does that one actually have actual? It might have actual art, but it's like very, 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 very like just low, not low quality, but just low pixel count, I guess.
Mm.
But it's one of those games where it's like you can do almost anything in that game. You can. It's almost like you're playing D&D in a game, kind of thing. like that
Right.
that levels of depth.
Mm.
And there's only like a handful of games where you can do something like that, you know. I forgot what my point was with this. Oh, I was saying, yeah, I was saying like, because that's such a niche that's on like on underrepresented. If you build something like that, then it's more likely to be successful, especially if you have something good, as opposed to if you just make, like I said, another little 2D platformer.
It's a very good point.
Yeah.
I'm
Not
glad you
saying
shared.
that the bar of quality for that game isn't good, because they spent 18 years on that game.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I love how that contradicts your point previously.
Well, no, that's a very specific example. You know, like that's one
Yes,
very specific. But my point for that game specifically is just like they're if they spend 18 years on a 2D platformer, wouldn't
it's the
yeah,
best.
unless it's going to be like Cuphead levels or like Ori levels or something, it's not that wouldn't have made a dip. You know, made a dent in anything. Yeah,
I agree. I
I'm
agree with
never
that.
spending 18 years on one thing though. Maybe I've IP sure, but like on one game, crazy.
What a risk, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Yeah, they
yeah,
did
you
though, and
should.
I'm really happy for them. They did a really good job with it.
Yeah, you shout
Yeah,
out Cuphead, one of my favorite games.
yeah,
It's
Cuphead's
getting
sick.
up. It's getting up there to the all-time ranking for me because I love it, even though I hate it because it's so hard. But I'm gonna finish
No,
that
it's
game.
so hard, but it's
Um,
so for me. It's like it's just so beautiful. Like from I saw them, cause they were working on it for a while before it came out. From my first saw it, like on forums, I was like, "Yo, this is something special." Okay, you never saw anything like that, right? There was never like a. I always thought, why is there never a hand drawn game? And I mean, I personally, I'm not a 2D animator like that, so I could never do that. But if I was, I'd try to make that. And then they did it, and like, oh, this is thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon thousands of just them drawing over and over and over and over and over
crazy.
as sketches, and then drawing over and over and over like the line arts, and then coloring. Yeah, so it's work. That's why no one did it.
Yeah,
But they did it, and they did
it's
it well.
100%. And now they've set the bar for that type of look, that type of game.
Right, like if anybody else comes up with something like that, no one's like, oh, it's like a what do you call it? Like a old 60s cartoon. It's like, no, it looks like Cuphead.
Exactly, this genre
Yeah,
defining games right there.
right.
So you're building Ourlands. You've spoken about the concept, the characters, and there's a so you don't get punished for not following your client's instructions, so to speak, but you get extra rewards, and there's obviously an incentive for following that.
Yeah.
Where How far have you taken that inspiration into the world building? Are there more characters such as that? Is it just going to be pirates, as you said, or are there going to be more
Oh,
characters
no,
in
no,
a bigger
no.
range?
It's gonna be definitely going to be a lot of different characters. Like I was pulling inspiration from everywhere. Nothing's off the table, you know. As long as I can think of like what would this character want on their island. If I can think of a list of items, I'm gonna put it in a game. Because why not? I don't want it to just be like just human characters either. I'm thinking like one one I'm finalizing name it, but I'm thinking like some kind of ghost character.
Okay,
Because why not?
why not?
Why not? Like he might want you to make like a kind of graveyard or like a Halloween themed town or something like that. Um have like a DJ who wants to turn make like a party island. Just different things like that, you know, like just have fun with it.
That's so sick.
One
And
character is going to be like a winter theme, like a snowman. Just like, you know,
okay,
all the different things. And just so that way, like I said, you can really it's just ways for you to because I find a lot of these games that don't have any direction. And if you're someone who's very creative and wants this kind of experience, and you dive in and you spend 3, 4, 5 hours making one thing, and it's really fun. But then I've seen people going to those same games, and they're like, "Oh, the trailer made it look so easy, but I don't know what to do. Like, what am I
mm,
supposed to be doing here? Like, I have all the tools. I'm overwhelmed. I'm just gonna close it." And I just wanted to add some kind of like direction for people to actually be able to just like, oh, this character wants this specific thing. I'm still free on how I want to make it. So if the pirate wants you to make like, can't think of an example right now, but if they want something, it's never going to be, oh, I want a house this big and like a piece of land that wide, this many treasure chests or whatever. He's just gonna be like, no, I want you to kind of fit this this vibe, just feel this vibe for me, and then just do it. It's really up
That's
to your
mental.
creative expression.
Yeah, I like that. It's almost like carte blanche to kind of just show your masterpiece and build it up.
Yeah,
It's interesting because you spoke about a game that was very much like D&D, and I feel like your game Ourlands has the same essence in terms of it
I
is
wish.
a build your it is a build your own adventure, and like even
Kinda,
though
yeah,
yeah,
kinda.
even though and even though there are parameters, there it feels like there's a lot of freedom for the player to kind of go their own
Yeah,
way.
yeah,
Whether if you have a more creative individual, they can just ignore completely the client's wishes and build their own masterpiece. And then someone who does need a bit more guidance, or I guess like training wheels on the bike, if they need that push, they need like set guidelines. They can build the basic islands first, just going by the client's specifications, and then as they
exactly.
get more comfortable, they can spend more time doing their own things, getting really creative with it. And that's how I guess that's how you can find people who will play your game for a lot more hours. Like you
Right.
said, you could really spend hundreds of hours playing Ourlands, and I think you'll find a really nice
Man, I
balance. I
hope
think
so.
I
I can
think
even
that's
have
what you're gonna find.
I really hope so. I have a fun feature where it's like one of my guilty pleasures in games is having a photo mode, and it's sometimes it gets to be problematic because I'll be in the middle of like a heated scene in like Uncharted or something. I'm like, oh, this looks sick. Pause the game, go to photo mode. Like Drake is like falling backwards into the water, and I just pause it there, just to take a really cinematic photo. Like, why am I
Yeah,
doing that?
why
um,
not? It's a feature of
because
the
even
game.
like in God of playing God of War and Kratos is like up on the wall because even like this is the start of the game, the very first scene in God of War 2018. I'm like, yo,
Yeah,
this game is beautiful. I need to take a picture of this. Like, no, it doesn't make any sense. Breaking my immersion. But I'm a photo mode kind of person, and so in Ourlands I want to have a photo mode. It's all a 2D game, obviously, but I want to utilize that and make it look like postcards. So when you take a picture, you can like add stickers to it. You can like change a border, like little wish you were here kind of thing.
that's
And then
sick.
just being able to share those kind of things. So I feel like will be just another reason for people to just want to continue to make things over and over, make cool things.
That sounds very cool. And again, my co-host Hallie has spent hundreds of hours, maybe not hundreds, but he spent hours upon hours on Tiny Glade, and he's got a lot of builds on our Twitter, which is Streamcast underscore. I am hoping he has the same energy for our lands, because I feel
I
like he's
really hope
got
so. Yeah.
some real beauties out on Twitter. So I'm very excited. I think he's very excited. I don't want to
Hey.
speak for him, but I think he will be very excited. Um, so obviously, I think a lot of things that we've spoken about your game mechanically, about your games and your
Mm.
background. Tell me a bit about, I guess, the business end of building a game in terms of marketing and analytics. What kind of things do you look out for? What kind of no-nos do you have, and what kind of do's do you have when it comes to like operating as a business?
Do we have another O? Maybe like four. That's a very big question. Like I didn't you asked me so much just now I forgot what the first thing even was.
Sorry,
It's
sorry.
like the business
Operating
part
as a
is the
business.
hardest
Yeah,
part of making games. Or I should say making like if you're into that hobby then there's no business part. You're just making something for fun, right? But it's like running any business is challenging. Except if I'm like I don't know, if I'm like running a bakery, I know people want, bread, they want all the different things a baker has. And if I'm the only baker on that block, people are going to come to me for my bread, right?
yeah,
It's a much more secure business. Whereas games, you can make the perfect game and somehow you just happen to release it next to GTA 6. It's just like,
yeah,
well,
yeah,
mess up there.
yeah.
Or you can make the perfect game, but the budget was way over budget. Or when you started making it, it was a perfect idea, and then that whole trend kind of went away. Like all the people who made um games that tried to be like the next Overwatch, but nothing really kind of hit. And I mean, the only reason Marvel Rivals hit is because it's Marvel.
Yeah.
Like if it was some random new IP, the game would still be fun, but it wouldn't have hit in the same way. So yeah, the business part is just it's a lot of balancing the artistry of making games, and also, oh, we need to get the players, we need to make money, we need to like actually just do something that will actually get the players interested in the game. Because I mean, there's a lot of people who just make things which are not as artistic, but they sell a lot anyway. But that's more like in the AAA space, you know, like in the indie space is typically you see people trying to push boundaries, you see people trying to, even if they take something and put their own spin on it, it's just that, right? It's not just, oh, here's another Ubisoft type game.
Yeah,
It's never that, you know. Um, but it's just really hard.
of course.
And I would never recommend it to anybody unless you love making games, and then I'd recommend it to everybody because it's very fulfilling. But it's
That's
very
really.
hard.
I was
It's
gonna say that
like,
was a really artistic point. Sorry, continue.
yeah. No, because when I think of like just doing just the art by itself, I couldn't, let's say if I make a, even the longest thing I've taken to make like a, take me like a week to make a really dope painting or a 3D whatever, or even if I decide to make a short film, it'd take, you know, a couple weeks, months, however long, and then it's out and you're good. With a game, you have to, it never happens that quickly, and then you have to do a lot of play test. It's not just a one-way experience. It's not just someone watching your work. It has to be engaging. It has to actually work. It can't crash all the time. You have to market it properly. Sometimes you might have to get deals with like Xbox or Epic or, you know, Apple, whoever. It's just a lot of work, especially for one person. Like, but I choose this life. I couldn't go work somewhere else. I couldn't try to find a business partner, but here I am. So some part of me must enjoy it, right?
I think so. You didn't stop after Super Space Club. I think, like you said, if you love games, if you love making games, you'll
Yeah,
find
it's
it
not just about
interesting.
loving games, and it's not definitely not about making money. Like, I couldn't name 50 ways easier to make money. Like, I should say make guaranteed money. Because obviously, if you have like a hit, then you can make a lot of money in games. But especially because more and more people are making games, it's a lot harder to make something that stands out and makes you like bank, you know. That's a dream, but like that's not why I'm here. I'm not here trying to make $1 billion. If I do, again, there will be signs. But yeah, it's definitely a passion that drives me,
So
and
yeah,
that business that holds me together.
that's a really articulate way to put it. So you've featured on Black Voices in Gaming, which is an amazing
Mhm.
platform. How has that
Shout out to
helped?
them.
Of course, big up. How
Yeah.
has being featured on platforms such as that helped your games when it comes to launch, when it comes to post-release, pre-release, wish lists? How has I guess the collaboration helped you?
Immensely. Like big shout out to BVIG and like Justin Woodard over there. And even outside of Black Boys in Gaming, just like the mix and stuff like that. Like the whole reason for those things existing is to amplify our voices, amplify indie games, and then for BVIG specifically, amplify like our voices and like Black voices. Um, and especially coming, I'm not from America. I'm from like a third world country. I'm not. Even though I've been here for over 10 years now, probably over 15 years at this point, I don't. I still feel like an immigrant. You know, I don't. I still don't identify as. I'm not American. Like no, I'm
Right, right.
Jamaican. I'm Jamaican who just happens to live here. And so having things like Black Voices in Gaming, it 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 gives me a place to see other people like me and meet other people like me. Some of them who have been in the industry for decades. From there's one guy I know, multiple people I know who have been in it since I got Metroid. You know, like they've been in it for this long. And then there's some people who like if I knew about those people sooner, I could have gotten into the industry a lot earlier. You know, because I would have seen faces like me and people doing it on a smaller scale. Um, I think it's very useful for sometimes, you know, imposter syndrome. I feel like I'm not enough, or I feel like I'm not doing anything because I'm comparing myself to these
Of course.
greater people, you know, like, but then I get hit up by a student and they're like, "Oh my god, it's so cool to see you doing this," whatever. I'm like, "Oh, I guess I'm doing something." Like, like, even though I'm not where I want to be yet, I'm where a lot of people want to be now. You know, like some people want to just even think about doing this full time, and so I think BVIG is dope in just amplifying that to the next generation of people, or even people in the generation now who want to see other people like them. We're like, oh, he's having that same struggle. All right, cool. I'm not alone. Like, we just need to kind of figure this out together, push each other, like make that community. It's dope.
Of course. Quickly, we got a call-in question, a write-in, I should say. Jelody, welcome to the Streamcast. Hope you're good. How do you
It's
go
good.
about from having an idea for a game to creating it?
Um, so I can answer that in two different ways. So first of all, if you have an idea, you can like do pen and it depending on the kind of game that you have an idea for, you can do like a pen and paper prototype. So for Ourlands, I just kind of drew not I wouldn't call them sketches, but I drew like illustrations of different islands, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of giving me a vibe. Like I can see myself doing this digitally, and then from there, just kind of went to kind of build the game, right? Like just make all the assets, bring them into. I'm using Godot, not Unity this time, so I'm using the Godot engine. Bring them in there, and then just kind of make a prototype and feel it out. Whereas with Super Space Club, I had the idea, but it's more just like it's more gameplay focused. So I was like, oh, I wonder if I can even make like an asteroids inspired game, make something that's more hectic like that, make a space shooter. And so it's really just diving into an engine, whichever engine doesn't really matter, whatever is best for you and what your game needs. It's making a prototype. Like if you know how to prototype games, then that's just it. Just jump in. If you want to make like a deck builder, go get a deck of cards and just scribble on them. Take a sharpie, buy cheap deck of cards and put a sharpie on them and just make up a game, like have fun. I've done that before, like playing a game by myself as another player and myself, just pretending and going back and forth, and it's fun. Or it's not fun, and then you're like, all right, that idea is lame. You lost like 15, 20, 30 minutes every time, and you move on. You know, so it's really just doing it without spending. Basically, yeah, just doing something very quickly to prove that the game is fun. That's really what it boils down to, and then just go from there.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Final questions. What one piece of advice would you give anyone who is an aspirational or an aspiring game dev?
Stop being aspirational and just go do it.
All right,
I
thanks,
don't
Mike.
like. I hate when people. I shouldn't say I hate, but like, I'm sure I've did this at some point in my life. But when I see people actually making games and it's like aspirational game developer, people making like short films or making music and like aspirational thing, I'm like, no, you're doing it. You're already making games. Therefore, you're a game developer. So if you're aspiring to be a game developer, then start. Start like go on YouTube right now, look up how to make a game, how to make Pong. Like I started with Pong because it's an easy game. So how to make Pong in Unity, download or Godot or Unreal, whatever, and download the engine. Just follow along YouTube, and you're a game developer. Like yeah. Also, just play games. Like be a student of the game. You know, pardon the pun. Like just
I'm a big
yeah, like
fan.
just play games so you know. I mean, some developers don't. Like I was listening to Balacho. Everyone knows Balacho at this point.
Yeah,
Yeah, like I listened to an interview with him, and he was saying he never played any deck builders while he was making his game because he didn't want to be influenced, right?
that makes
But
sense.
he's played games, like even he's played other card games. He's played like I think he was saying Balacho initially was it's actually not based on poker, it's based on a different game he's played. But he used all the poker terminology to because everybody knows that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Um, but yeah, just play stuff. If you want to play freaking Go Fish, I don't know. Like, just play games and then get inspiration from somewhere and just make.
All
Nothing
right.
if you have the internet, there's nothing stopping you from making games. Getting into the business is a little bit harder, but like even that's just if you have to do solo indie thing, Yeah, I didn't know where to tell someone to start at that point. Because it's definitely a business versus just making a game. But yeah, if you want to make games, just there's nothing stopping you. Just go make.
Amazing.
YouTube is your guide.
YouTube is a hell of a platform. I won't
Yeah,
lie.
yeah.
Okay, what is your greatest achievement since becoming a full-time game developer, and what has been your toughest challenge that you've overcome?
My greatest achievement is still existing right now as a indie developer. Like,
Yo, fair enough.
I told my wife, like, yo, give me a year and let's see what happens in a year. And that was 2021. And we're in 2025 now. So I'm still here. I think that's a big achievement.
Absolutely.
um, and this year is actually looking to be one of my best years. So I'm thankful for that. Um, and what's the second part? What's the hardest?
Uh,
Oh,
yeah, toughest obstacle that you've had to overcome.
burnout. like
Ooh,
like in 2021 when I left Snapchat, I was like, all right, cool. I'm full time. I can make my game now. I was so burnt out. Like I wasted that year is a blur to me. Like I remember I have a lot of wonderful memories with my wife and my son at the time. Um and now yeah, I don't know what I did that year. When I look at like when I opened Unity that year, maybe like twice. That year was a wash. It was horrible. And this is because I was burnt out from, working on the game in the night, Snapchat in the day, back and forth every single day, and being like raising a family, trying to be a good father. I'm not going to be like some dead, like, no, like I enjoy being a father, like I love it. And
I
so,
respect that.
thank you. I feel that shouldn't be something that is I respect that answer. It should be the default, but it's not.
I
But
know, but
it should be
it's the reality that we live
the
in.
reality. Yeah. Um. Yeah. So burnout, like actually getting out of that, and then actively not getting back into that spot because it's very easy to get back there. Like just any kind of grind, any kind of just stress will get you back there just to overwork yourself. Yeah, easily my biggest challenge in my life, like my whole life, for sure, is
Yeah.
burnouts. Because even if let's say I didn't end up making anything, didn't finish Super Space Club, I also burnt out. Like I've done freelance jobs since where it kind of comes back. It's like, oh, I don't want to be here again. Like I don't want to
Mm,
be doing this. This is not what I'm here on this planet for. And it's just triggered by when I was burnt out from my full time.
fair enough.
Yeah, so
Oh,
that's the hardest thing. So
this
that's
is
why
a
I said
bit.
the greatest thing is I'm still here,
Yeah.
like not just surviving anymore, actually here making this my living
Yeah.
and getting
And
people to notice. Like you hit me up, I was like,
of
oh, this is dope, thank you.
course, like when you were saying before of like, oh, you don't think like you're trying to be like some a lot of other people, but then a lot of people are pulling you up and saying, "Hey, you are amazing. You've achieved this many
Yeah, I
great
don't
things."
feel like when I like to call out like Zal, like when I look at like him and his Train Scaffold games, I'm like, yeah, they deserve all the praise. They're
Mm.
doing it. They're hitting games back to back, releasing things, making dope games. Every game's better than the last. And then there's me. Like I put that one game that people know about.
But see, this is why I was saying a lot of the things when you were, achieving a lot of your great success at Snapchat. And like sometimes it's just because it's you. You're like, it is what it is. It's not a big deal, but it actually is. You've achieved a lot of great stuff, and you've shipped games.
I
People
know. Honestly,
like
it's people who have shipped games, like they try and waste 5 years and still don't ship a game. That's very true. That's
exactly.
very
So
true.
I know a lot of times with the point of view that it's yourself doing a lot of these things,
Mm.
it's hard to give yourself praise for whatever reason. Maybe it's like, oh, other people will see it as arrogant, or it's just me. I haven't done this, but objectively, these are things that you've completed. These are things that you've achieved,
Yeah.
and it is of
Don't
course
get me
to.
wrong, and I'm proud of what I've done. Like I
Hmm,
think shipping a game, trust me, especially on Xbox, that was so hard. I'm not trying to call it Xbox, but more so porting to console is hard in itself, not
sure.
just Xbox.
Yeah,
I've heard they're the easiest actually. So just me not knowing
yeah,
what I was doing, that was really hard. But I do acknowledge that I did a good job. I did something to be proud of. It's just I don't. It's not where I want to be, and it's not what I envision for. I don't know what Graham of Legend is, but you're right. I should be. I mean, it's hard to step out of your body and just look at everything you've
Yeah.
done. It's really hard,
Again, yeah, and
and
it
it's
is
very
a
easy
very
to compare
difficult
yourself to
thing.
other people.
Of course,
Yeah.
there's comparison's the thief of joy. You know what they say, and sometimes there is a, and I know where you're coming from as well. And I think the fact that you desire and hunger for so much more is a very good sign.
It's motivating for me. It doesn't. It's never made me want to stop. It's not like seeing other people do cool things. Hey, the storyteller was good. It never made me want to not do cool things. It's never deterred me. It just fueled me, like especially when it's like teams like a one person team from like a 16-year-old. I'm like, what? What are you talking about?
Crazy. These kids are so
Crazy.
talented.
So talented. And they have all the tools from a young age. I'm so happy for them. Like
Yeah.
they miss out on a lot, but also they have a lot. So it's a
So yeah, it's a
yeah,
balancing act. Big up
exactly.
Storyteller, another great guest that we've had on the pod. I can't wait for his game Nixie to come out. What an amazing dude. Um, but I mean, Graham of Legends, legend by name, legend by nature. I think you're going to be very successful, and
Thank
there's
you.
a
I
lot
appreciate
that
that.
I'm very. I don't know. You fill me with a lot of pride. Like you've achieved a lot, but you still want so much more, and I think that is
I don't
the
feel like I've achieved a lot. I feel like I've achieved specific things, and it's good. But there's so much in my mind. There's so much I can achieve.
I think that is what makes
Maybe I'm
humans so
delusional, but
interesting.
maybe that's what
I,
that's what I feel like I've seen. I don't know what the quote is, but what was the quote? It was basically saying like anyone who's ever done anything great is delusional, and that's why they got it done. Something like that. So
I
maybe
think
I'm
that's
delusional.
true.
I don't know, but yeah,
I
at
mean,
least
yeah,
one.
a lot of these great inventions. At one point, the inventors were viewed as crazy. So I don't think delusional should be a bad thing in this case, and I don't think you are personally. Uh,
Uh,
it seems like we're going overtime here. Storyteller with one right at the buzzer. What can Graham tell us about Ourlands? You've missed that. You might need to
you missed
rewind.
it.
Actually,
Yeah.
the website looks so good. It really does. I got lost on your website because it looked really
Oh, that's
good.
a good question.
How
How
do
do
you
you
manage the
manage the
marketing
marketing
in the network?
while
Kind of
doing
asked
the
that a
dev
bit
work?
earlier, but it's a bit it's a bit different as well. So if you do want to answer that, go ahead.
Uh, now I've learned it's a lot of planning, like a lot of planning and foresight. So you can do marketing in different ways. It's not just like posting on socials. It's like also, posting on like Reddit, which is it's socials, but not really. It's Reddit is a whole machine unto itself. Um, they're hitting up different streamers, doing different Steam events, making sure you network and get connects at like the different platform holders. All of that's marketing because one thing I was really proud of with Super Space Club was even though I never found a massive audience, I did find a lot of connects at these different companies, and they believe in me. So that's I think that's when it kind of clicked in my mind, like, oh, I'm doing something that I'm being noticed by Xbox. It's like, sure, I may not been being noticed by individuals, but if Xbox believes in me, and they're a business, they're not just trying to make me feel nice. No, they're trying to make money.
Exactly.
So it's like
Exactly.
if
Exactly.
they believe in me, then it's like, yeah. So the marketing is all about this planning, and even while you're making your game, properly like planning. A lot of the way I plan what I want to develop next is hitting marketing beats. So if you develop to a marketing plan, I wouldn't say it's unique, but it's just like it makes marketing a lot easier, as opposed to, like, for example, the very first Super Space Club trailer. I think it was the first one. Everything I developed in the game, I made for that trailer. I'm like, if it's not going to be a trailer, I'm not going to look at it right now. And I made all that, and I made a trailer, and it was dope. I could have focused on completely different things, but why? Like, because if you're on a team, it makes sense because then you have to hit different milestones because you're trying to do this. But for me, my milestones are the marketing essentially. How that
Of
makes
course.
sense.
I think it does. I think it does.
Yeah.
As we wrap up, I do want to ask you one more two-part question, but this is it from
Mhm.
me. I promise. You
Okay.
mentioned you mentioned burnout being your toughest challenge. How did you get out of burnout, and what do you do to
Time.
make sure?
Just time.
Yeah.
There's
And
no
what
answer. Just time.
what do you do to make sure that you don't go back there, because it's something that can creep back on
Mm,
you. Um,
definitely. Um, yeah, time. It's like burnout is similar to a loss in that you can always grieve, but there's no magic pill. There's no you can distract yourself, but it's still there. You just have to kind of give yourself time to get out of it. Um, yeah, some people never get back into what they're passionate. They lose their passion entirely. You know, so I'm very happy that I didn't lose mine because I could have. I'm not superhuman. You know, I could definitely
yeah.
have been like, you know what, I don't do this anymore. How do I stay out of it? Uh, I mean, for one, I'm not working two jobs. I'm not trying to do that full time and then freelance and then I'll work on my game. It's not juggling too many things. And then I try to be more organized. So like if I know I'm trying to hit like there's an event coming up I need to submit to, I try, keyword try, to not be last minute. I try to not leave everything until like a couple of days before to make everything. Because I'm notoriously that's just how I operate. And it's always worked in my favor, but also not.
Yeah,
Like the
I
work
hear
always
it.
ends up being really good, but then it's like, oh, I lost a lot of. I feel like I've lost years of my life at this point just from the lack of sleep, which is like horrible. So not doing that anymore. Just trying to be more mindful of my time, and I feel like having children does help with that because I can't just neglect them, like, and I don't want to neglect them. I want to spend time with them. So have kids. There you go. Have kids.
Those are Graham of Legend's final words on the pod. Have kids. All right, cool. Um,
Go
thank
breed.
you. Yeah.
No, just be mindful of your time and don't try your best to not do things that are going to, of course, anytime. Yeah, try and do things that aren't going to just burn you out. Really, just don't don't overwork. Don't grind too much. It might happen. Some people will never let it happen, and big up to them. Like they're just more disciplined than I am. But like, if it does happen, don't make it a habit.
Absolutely.
Like crunch.
Well,
That's what I've been trying to think of. Crunch. Don't crunch. Yeah. Like some studios I've heard they'll trying to hit a deadline and they crunch, and then the deadline gets pushed. And they're like, oh, we'll just spend like 2 months crunching. Never saw my family for weeks. And then they push it and they crunch more in, and then that's how burnout happens, right? So if you can avoid all of that, avoid it. Really and truly, that's it. Have other hobbies, just do other things, plan ahead. Yeah.
of course,
And that's advice for not just for game dev, but just for anything.
for life,
Yeah.
really. Thank you once again, Graham. Let the people know how they can support you, how they can follow you, keep up to date, and the Ourlands. I'm sure that, there's not a date just out just yet, but how can people keep
Mm.
up to date and be the first to know?
There's so many ways. First and foremost, please go and wishlist Ourlands on Steam. If you go to ourlandsgame.com, you can see all the things there for the game. And then I am at GrahamOfLegend on everything. I'm on Twitter, I'm on YouTube, I have vlogs there. I'm on Blue Skies at GrahamOfLegend.com. You can sign up for my newsletter, which is the best way to keep up with me because all these socials and the algorithms, they're just all over the place.
It's so much.
So if you go there, you'll definitely hear from me in your inbox where it's reliable. And I don't harass you every day, like not like that at all. um and yeah, that's it. Go wish us Orleans.
Make sure to wish list our lands and have kids. The great words of Graham of Legend.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, personally, I love my children and I love being a dad, so have kids.
Have kids. There you go.
Just be responsible about it. Don't just go and make kids and then abandon them. Like, don't do that. No, don't
Yeah,
twist my words.
that's
Like,
that's not what we're saying.
no.
And you can also support the streamcast while you support Graham of Legend by subscribing right here. If you aren't already, please subscribe. We are one subscriber away from 550, which is a big step on the milestone of 600 subs, which we'd like to hit in April. You can also watch this pod back and all the other ones that we've done live. We are live every other Monday at 7:30 p.m. UK time. In about 24 hours, you can catch this pod on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm about to go live on our Twitch and our second YouTube channel, youtube.com /
Second YouTube channel.
Yeah, we had to separate the things because we realized we did some insights and some research, and we found out we were confusing our audience.
That
So
makes sense. Yeah.
this is our main YouTube channel for gaming discussions, event coverage, pods such as this. And we built a second YouTube channel just for gaming, for streams, so we don't confuse our audience. So I'm going to be on there to stream God of War 3 for about 3 hours. I'm loving the game.
Nice.
The game that birthed Streamcast. So if it wasn't for that game, there'd be none of this. This interview wouldn't be happening. And we'll be streaming. It's a really good game. 2018 is still my favorite, but we'll be live throughout the rest of the week, and I'm going to be live on my personal channel, youtube.com / @TheBlackamora on Wednesday this week from 9 p.m. BST. I'm going to be going back in time and playing Simpsons Hit and Run on a legit PS2.
Wow.
One of my favorite games of all time. So make sure you tune in. And all the links are in the description anyway, so go there and follow Graham of Legend, follow us, support us. And we'll be live in about 2 weeks, the 14th of April, 7:30 p.m. UK time. But until then, please take care of yourselves and your loved ones. Happy Mother's Day. Eid Mubarak. We'll see you on the next Streamcast.